Hi again, it's LeighAnn from Sunny Hills Church of Christ. Last week we were talking about Emmanuel and the concept of letting others be God with us. So going along that thread, this week I wanted to talk about somebody who really understood that concept and maybe understood that concept better than anyone else. And also she's one of our biblically documented self-quarantiners, so she might have a little perspective on what we're going through. Today we're going to be talking about Mary, the mother of Jesus. And many of us know who Mary is. And we've heard the Christmas story and the Jesus birth story a million times. But I want to look at Mary's journey in her early pregnancy. So not the birth story and not the traveling to Bethlehem story, but the early pregnancy. And we tend to skip over the fact that Mary was placed into a absolutely terrifying and, quite frankly, very dangerous situation. She's young, she's unmarried, she's pregnant, and she's seeing angels. It's not the best of combinations, and especially if her husband Joseph doesn't believe her story, she could even lose her life. It's a pretty scary situation. So Mary's solution to this is to go off and self-quarantine. And while it's not a perfect self-quarantine, she does go off to visit family members. And so we can see that, and we'll be in Luke today, Luke chapter 1, and I'll be kind of skipping all over the place. So right now we're going to go to verse 39 and 40. And we're going to see that in those days Mary arose and went with haste into the hill country to a town in Judah. And she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. So Zechariah and Elizabeth are her relatives, and so she's going with haste because it's a dangerous situation. And then we can see that she's there for quite some time if we skip over to 56. And it'll say, and Mary remained with her about 3 months and returned to her home. So she was in self-quarantine for 3 months out in the hill country. And she headed off into this quarantine until God created a safe place for her to return to. But what I want to look at today is what gave Mary strength during this great time of uncertainty and confusion, and probably had a lot of questions, right? So we're going to see that Mary is told to find her assurances in 2 different places by the angel of the Lord. So the first thing that she's going to find assurance is in knowing who she is. Find assurance in knowing who you are. And so here we're going to jump over to verse 28, still in chapter 1. And it's going to say, and he, the angel, came to her and said, greetings, O favored one, the Lord is with you. Again, so we come back to that concept of Emmanuel, right? But she was greatly troubled at the saying and tried to discern what sort of greeting this might be. And the angel said to her, do not be afraid. And why do not be afraid? Mary, do not be afraid, for you have found favor with God. And so he has told her twice that she is a favored one and that she has found favor with God. And in these terms, this is referring to God having a distinguished role for her. She is favored in the fact that God has a plan for her, and he has something that he needs her to do. She'll later tell us how generations will call her blessed because she was favored. She had a role. So Mary can find comfort and assurances from fear by knowing who she is in the eyes of God. God sees her. God sees Mary and has purposely called her out to do this task. So the second place that the angel of the Lord calls her to find her assurances in is knowing who God is. So first she needs to know who she is. And then second, be assured, be comforted by the fact God is God, right? So we're going to jump to verse 37, again, still in chapter 1. Sorry. And he's going to say, for nothing will be impossible with God. Know who God is. Nothing's impossible with him. So find comfort, find peace, find assurances in knowing that nothing is impossible with God. So it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind that's surrounding us right now. And remember that you, like Mary, are not some person that's randomly drawn out of a hat to encounter whatever situations you may be stumbling upon. Our lives each have different experiences that can have an impact on places that we could have never imagined or even dreamed. I mean, imagine being this young woman, Mary, and being told that your life is going to change the lives of millions, right? That's mind-blowing, right? So here we are in a situation where we don't know what the impact may be, but we know that we are chosen by God at this time. And maybe what you're going through is going to be just that ripple in the water that starts, that constant, you're that one droplet that starts the ripples in the water that has its effect that goes on and on and on. And maybe you're navigating your own personal challenges, but as you're doing that, remember, you can find the same peace and the same assurances from the same places that Mary found hers, right? Know that God knows who you are and that you have found favor in his eyes. He has a task, he has a role for you. And while it might not be as challenging as raising a child who actually knows everything because he is God, right? Could you imagine raising a kid who's always right? Like actually always right? And maybe there might be even struggles that not even Mary could fathom or not even Mary could embrace. But know that God knows who you are. So find assurances in knowing who you yourself are. But also find your second assurance in knowing who God is. He's not some magic 8-ball that we shake and get our answers from. He's not missing in action today. He's wonderful counselor. He's mighty God. He's everlasting Father. And he is Prince of Peace. He is Emmanuel. He is God with us. And so let's look at some verses where Mary can remind us of this exact concept, right? So we're going to see in verse 49 and 50, this is Mary's song, and it's in the middle, but she says, "For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name. And his mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation." So God is the same yesterday for Mary as he is for us today. So what will your response be to all that is in front of us? And can you see beyond this immediate chaos, this immediate stress that's enveloping us in our society, to see and glorify him now before all of this starts to get resolved? Can you trust that these difficult times now will bring great glory to his name later? This is the same as for Mary. Mary faced an impossible situation that was unfathomably difficult. Yet before she met her son, before her husband accepted her back, and before her relatives were there to comfort her, she says this amazing line. We're going to jump to verse 39, still in chapter 1. She says, as a response to the angel of the Lord, "I am the Lord's servant," Mary answered. "May it be to me as you have said." And the angel left her. So here we are today and facing craziness, right? Can your response be, "I am the Lord's servant. May it be to me as you have said"? Let's find comfort in that. And so today is actually the last day of our Spirit Week that Jill has set up for us. And so on Friday, she has challenged us to memorize Psalm chapter 91, verse 2. And I love when God connects two things that seem to be so far apart and planned at different times. And it wasn't until I was almost done writing all of this that I happened to look it up. And it just connects so deeply with this concept. And it's just a God thing, right? So I encourage you guys to go look it up. I'm not going to spoil the fun, but it's a really great verse of encouragement. And so go look it up, and I challenge you to post on social media, whatever social media you use, go ahead and memorize it and post on there. I challenge you guys to do that. I encourage you to. It's a great verse to constantly have on your heart during this time. And let's start looking at this situation, and let's start using this situation as an opportunity to bring hope to the world. Hope by showing them that we have an assurance of who we are in God's eyes and who God is. So I look forward to seeing all your videos, and this week I've got a couple songs that I want to encourage you with. Last week I had some songs, I just put them in the comments, and this week I think I'm just going to put them in the video. A really great song that goes along with this message is going to be Nothing to Fear by the Porter's Gate. That song has brought me lots and lots of encouragement, and so I encourage you to go look that up. It's a really beautiful song, very simple and yet really powerful. And if you're experiencing a ton of stress right now, and I encourage you to look up the song. It's called Rest. It's by the Robbie Seay band. That's Seay, and it's again called Rest. I'll have it again at the comments below, so that way you can check out those two songs if you're a person that needs songs to just find encouragement from. So thanks for spending some time with me, and thanks for listening. And just find your assurance, find your peace in knowing who you are and in knowing who God is. So have a great weekend, guys. Bye.